Rwy'n weinidog nawr i wneud y cynnig hynny anablaedden.
Diolch. Dwi'n croesawu'r cyfle i ddod at ei gilydd unwaith eto yn y Senedd yn nodi cyfnod blynyddol y cofio. Bydd clawr y ddigwyddiadau coffa yn cael ei cynnal dros y penwythnos mewn cymunedau ar draws y wlad. Dwi'n ddiolchgar hefyd am y cefnogaeth ar draws y pleidiau fel ein bod ni'n gallu dod at ein gilydd i goffio am y rai sydd wedi gwasanaethu a rai sydd wedi gwneud y obaith fwyaf. Sadly, though, today's debate takes place in the midst of ongoing conflict around the world. I know that there are people and communities in Wales thinking of loved ones, as well as people they've never met and will never meet, including in Ukraine, in Israel and in Gaza. Recent events all too starkly serve to reinforce distress, misery, pain and grief that conflict inflicts on people and places. And so whilst not forgetting or diminishing that in any way, it is too right that we take the opportunity to collectively focus on remembrance and the enduring importance to families and communities in Wales. With each annual remembrance period we reach, our Second World War generation, whilst remaining significant, no less significant, becomes smaller. And it is now primarily our national service generation who are largely our country's most senior cohort of veterans. Back in June, I had the honour of attending the 60th anniversary commemoration of the end of the national service at the National Memorial Arboretum. Between 1949 and 1963, more than 2 million men were conscripted into the British Army, Navy or Royal Air Force. They served and fought in operations across the world, in the Suez Canal Zone, as peacekeepers in Cyprus, on counterinsurgency operations in Malaysia, amongst others. And members here have heard me share before I grew up stories of my own granddad's national service in Nigeria and seeing the photos that he sent to my nan with a nice message on when they were what we called in those days courting. National servicemen also fought and died in the Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. This is another significant 70th anniversary reached this year. The years may pass, but remembrance remains important in Wales, as we have always been and remain a significant provider of service personnel. Whilst we have 5% of the population share of the UK, 7% of the armed services serving strength comes from Wales. And we know from the 2021 census that 1 in 12, that is 8.1% of households in Wales, have someone who has previously served in the armed forces. Approximately 1 in 20, 4.5% of the Welsh population, is a veteran. And the importance and scale of remembrance is evident from the displays and activities in our towns and villages, as well as the many remembrances I expect many members will attend in this week and over the weekend, whether that in schools, in hospitals or at our many war memorials. Our war memorials serve as a community focus as well as a reminder of the consequences of war. And the positive community response to the work of the artist T2 Sugars in providing a house-sized remembrance mural as a backdrop to a memorial in Abertillery is an example of how embedded commemoration is at the local level. The significant and enduring work of the Royal British Legion is also central to remembrance activity. The importance of its poppy appeal and the work of volunteer poppy collectors and communities across Wales have been out and about in all hours and also all weather over the last weeks. And of course, this year, the Royal British Legion have moved to a new sustainable plastic-free poppy, which I'm proudly wearing this afternoon. The money raised during remembrance makes a real difference in both looking after the families of those who have given their lives in conflict and those who have been forever scarred by their service. Our commemoration also rightly reflects on our diversity in Wales. The British Legion Garden of Remembrance in Cardiff Castle features a multitude of wooden markers, crosses, crescents, stars of St David's and other markers, representing the diversity and equality of sacrifice in past conflict. In Pembury this weekend, the Polish community will be conducting a commemoration of the graves of the 7 Polish airmen who lost their lives in the Second World War. It's also the Polish National Independence Day, so it will be a day of celebration as well as commemoration. And on Saturday, the First Minister will be present at the Merchant Navy Association's commemoration at the memorial here outside the Senedd. And next week, my colleague, the Minister for Social Justice and Chief Whip, will be with the Race Council Cymru and our Windrush elders at the Black and Minority Ethnic Commemoration Service in Alexandra Gardens. This is the 75th anniversary of Windrush, and many of those who came across from Commonwealth countries to live and work here were those who had previously served in world wars. The Merchant Navy Association commemoration also provides an opportunity to remember the diversity of sailors and their families from Cardiff and Wales's port communities who served. This year was also a year in which the contribution of LGBTQ+ service people was finally formally recognised through Lord Etherton's independent review. Many in this community desperately wanted to serve but had careers cut short with dreadful hurt and harm done. Others served but with lives led in secret and in fear of being found out and dismissed from a job they loved. The public apology from the Prime Minister in Parliament in June was an important first step on the road to rectifying the wrongs of the past. LGBTQ+ veterans now march with pride past the Cenotaph in Whitehall and will be doing so this weekend again as part of Fighting with Pride. This is also a year in which we should remember our nuclear test veterans, with a medal being rewarded from this year to those who served in the nuclear test programme between 1952 and 1967. It's a particular element of service and sacrifice in which the effects have passed through generations and that we remember this week. The Remembrance period also serves as an opportunity to reflect and recognise those who have served and those who continue to serve. In those who serve, we of course think of our regular cap badge units and ships among our 7% of armed forces. The Royal Welsh in Tidworth, the Queen's Dragoon Guards in Norfolk, the Welsh Guards in Windsor, His Majesty's ships Cambria and Dragon, and the cruisers serving them. We think of the armed forces presence in Wales at RAF Valley, in Brecon, Browdy, St Athan and elsewhere. And remember our many reservists across Wales and those employees who support them manage their dual roles. We also think of service families at this time. We are conscious that in Wales we have many have lost loved ones and for whom this is an incredibly difficult period. This time last year I had the privilege of marching to the Cenotaph in Whitehall with the War Widows Association and of hearing their stories of pride, of love and of loss. We often celebrate service people and veterans, but not so much service children. So I was pleased to see that Sean and Ria Molina of the Wales Veterans Awards organised a new event in Brecon on the 28th of October, recognising service children. Of course, our service people who have served our country often go on to serve our communities, and as a government we want to ensure Wales can benefit from the skills service personnel develop when they transition back into civilian life. That's why we're continuing our partnership working with the 160th Welsh Brigade, the Careers Transition Partnership, the Reserve Forces and Cadets Association to bring employment opportunities to the Armed Forces community through a third annual Welsh Employment Fair and Employers Workshop at the Cardiff City Stadium next week on the 16th of November. We expect to see 50 employers with active job offers at the event, and I'm also pleased to see the return of Building Heroes, partnership with Cardiff and Vale College and its new course this week, providing a route for service people into construction opportunities in Wales. Whilst for many, service is a positive experience, this is a time when we remember those for whom the Armed Forces Covenant is there to help support. We continue to fund Veterans NHS Wales to provide an open access mental health pathway across Wales, and whilst veterans can be referred by their GP, this open access allows the veteran to self-refer to the service or to be referred by their family. Since the last remembrance period, the duty of due regard has come into effect, requiring consideration of the needs of the local armed forces community at the local level in planning, delivering and reviewing policy. This affects local delivery in devolved areas by local authorities and health boards in particular, and our Armed Forces liaison officers have been active in this area, as have supporting service children in Education Cymru. I know too that the third sector is key in supporting veterans across Wales through hubs, both statics and mobile, through temporary accommodation, through advice on pensions and entitlements and much more, and I know many members have supported those initiatives in their own communities and constituencies. Yn olaf, dwi'n eisiau sôn am waith y Commissioners Confilwyr, grŵp Arbenigol Llywodraeth Cymru a grŵp Trespleidiol y Senedd ar Lluoedd Arfog a Cadetiaid. Dwi'n gwybod ein bod ni'n benderfynol o weithio gyda'n gilydd i cefnogi cymuned y Lluoedd Arfog yn Cymru. The scrutiny and challenge through these groups is valued and plays a part in helping ensure that the service and sacrifices of the Armed Forces community receive the focus and support that they rightly deserve. Diolch.